Balalaika's got a theatre now.
Has it? I haven't seen that yet. I've only just snuck in just in time.
Yeah, it's probably not open tonight, but they have a theatre there now.
Okay. Right. Hello, Annette.
Thank you. Hi.
Hello, Nandi. Welcome.
Okay. Logistics question.
Yes.
If you haven't filled out the Google form with the two questions,
special.
Cindy,
well, then you're in the right place then. Then it would be a good idea to go and fill in those answers.
Was that on the email, Marcel?
It was on someone's email that went out. I see some people are filling in.
I see it. Sorry, I missed that completely.
No problem.
Oh, well, I've got enough. Okay, I've got some decent answers here, so I can go with that.
Hi, Melanie. Hi, Karen.
Hey.
Hey, Melanie.
Got a nice turnout.
Hello, Marcel. How's it, Ian?
Hey, Melanie.
I can't believe this is working.
Marcel, this is the fun side.
No, from my side, I can't believe my computer is actually handling this.
No, it's going to be fun. All right, folks, let's get started. Just a couple of logistics. Hello, Michael. Now that your video's on, we can see your face. So welcome to everybody. We're not going to go around the room and introduce ourselves because that will take a whole lot of time, and we're very, very keen to hear what Marcel's got to say. So just to start with a few logistics. Ian, have we had a meeting since the PSA conference?
No.
No. All right. So this is the first one. So hello, Ross.
Last one was just before the conference.
Yes. Just before. All right. So just to catch us up. First of all, can I ask you to mute yourselves? I'm going to give you like 30 seconds, and then I'm going to go ahead and mute you. If you haven't done it before, down at the bottom of your screen, there's a button that says mute. If you hover, if it's not there, just hover at the bottom of your Zoom screen and it'll come up. Ian is recording the session for us. I'm in a hotel room, so I'm not entirely sure about my connection. So he's recording it. So standard, public rules apply. Let's not say anything that we wouldn't want to have somebody refer to in 10 years' time because it's on YouTube or Twitter or something else. So welcome to everybody. My name is Charlotte Kemp. I'm the chapter president for the virtual chapter, which is now completely official because we voted for it at the AGM at the PSA convention. And Ian Hatton is our deputy president, and the two of us are really excited about this new chapter. We've got a bunch of members, and I'm just trying to see how many of our members are here. I think Karen is a member, but there's a couple of others who've messaged us to say that they're not. I don't want this to sound too complicated, but let me try and explain it very quickly for everyone. PSASA has got 4 chapters around the country in Cape Town, Durban, Johannesburg, and Pretoria. And then we have this virtual chapter. The virtual chapter is intended for people who are not, who can't reasonably get to those chapters. So, for example, if Binny wanted to join us, Binny is in Kenya, so Binny could join us from Kenya.
Barigani.
From?
Barigani. It's Swahili. Hi.
Okay,
Sawa.
All right. We are looking at creating some other language mastermind. So maybe Marcel, you can start a Swahili one for us. Thank you. But so we have some people who are, one of our other people who's about to join us is from Botswana. And then other people who are kind of remote, they're not, if it was somebody in Port Elizabeth or somebody in Bloemfontein or somebody who reasonably can't get to the Durban chapter or to the Cape Town chapter because they live just too far away to come to a chapter meeting in the evening, then this is what the virtual chapter is for. So people like that would join the Professional Speakers Association as either an associate or a professional member, and then they would become a member of the virtual chapter and we'd take care of them. We have a second category of member, and that is somebody who is either a regular of the virtual chapter or somebody who wants to support the virtual chapter, but they are a member of their own their own chapter already. So, for example, if somebody was a member of the Johannesburg chapter, but wanted to be part of the virtual chapter, wanted us to kind of be aware of them and take care of them, then they could join as a partner. And it's just a name we've given to them. So they have their own chapter, but they're also a member of ours. And very interestingly, the first person who said, I don't want to leave my chapter, but I want to be a member of and support your chapter, is Graham Codrington. And I don't think we often see Graham at these meetings, but it is really nice to know that he's supporting this. He is a futurist like myself, so we like to support and experiment with different ways of doing things, such as the virtual chapter. And then, of course, we have the other kinds of people who join us, those regulars who come, who haven't joined the Professional Speakers Association, but they want to be part of this. They want to see what is going on. They want to learn from us. And we're very generous, and we want to share with them. We want to extend and share the knowledge and insights and experience we have. So people are free to join us as just friends of the chapter. They're not going to be charged ever in terms of attending. But although we welcome them and we'll look out for them, we're not actually going to kind of take care of them. And how we do that is Ian Hatton and I will be spending time just connecting with our members, finding out how they're doing, looking out for them and things like that. So if you do want to be a member or a partner of the virtual chapter, you can let either of us know, and we'll reach out, have a session with you, find out where you're at, to make sure that you're connected to a mastermind or that you've got some sort of direction and guidance within the association for the sake of your career. So that is the spiel out of the way. Just to say, we had some
quickly jump in.
Yes, Ian, please do.
We have Russ Boucher joined us now tonight, and he is all the way from Plettenberg Bay and our next official member of the virtual chapter.
Absolutely. We must have a session very soon where we acknowledge all of our new members, and we'll do that. Ross, you and I also need to have a conversation sometime, so you must let me know when you're free. All right. Maybe Friday if you're available. Good. All right. How this is going to work, Marcel has got some wonderful things to share with us. Not all of us were at the recent, I beg your pardon, at the PSA conference in Johannesburg. It really was a fantastic conference. We learned a lot. It was very exciting. And one of the things that happened was my husband, Richard Mulvey, was given a slot to speak, and he said he wanted to experiment with something he and I had been talking about for a long time, which is doing a duet. We have done one before, that we wanted to do something slightly different. So we did a duet speech, a keynote event, where we're both speaking about the same topic, but kind of disagreeing with each other, coming from different points, kind of unpacking the argument about this particular conversation. It was called Smoke and Mirrors. And the idea was, as speakers, we have to project an image of what it is that we believe we are, what we can offer to our audiences, what our clients can get if they work with us. Sometimes that projection is a little bit beyond our current reality. So the question was, how much of that is smoke and mirrors? How much of that is just good marketing? Where should we draw the line? How do we market ourselves? How do we create this theater of the mind for our clients and our audiences? And how do we do that with integrity at the same time? So we had a lot of fun with that. Because Richard and I are always kind of experimenting with things and just trying new ways of doing regular work. But one of the things we knew that we needed to do was to get some expert help. So when we got to a certain level and we were clear about what we were trying to achieve, we called up Marcel and invited him out for a very expensive breakfast at Wimpy.
Yummy.
And Marcel is worth a lot more than Wimpy. Next time we will take him to a wine farm and pick his brain there. But Marcel has helped before. He's helped me, he's helped others, just to give a bit of creative insight and to put a bit of spin on things. If any of you are seeing the kind of slowly evolving, maturing of my personal brand, which is a whole steampunk exploration, going on a journey theme that I'm working on, a lot of that is thanks to Marcel as well, who sat with me for hours talking about the whole steampunk concept and all of the little nuances and the concept of magic and journey and exploration. And every now and then I get stuck and I think back to that conversation, to that one, and actually to the one with Bruce Wade, which also explored the hero's journey and And I look back to those two conversations and I get a lot more clarity about what I'm trying to achieve. So before I kind of take over our entire time just talking about, the wonderful things that we can tap into here, I want to encourage you. This group of people, the faces that you're seeing right now, are our community. We all have expertise in our own areas. Please connect with each other. Connect on LinkedIn, connect on Facebook, see what we're doing, and reach out to each other. If you reached out to anybody on the screen right now and said, could I pick your brain just for 10 minutes just to get an understanding of something that I think you can help me with, they would be generous enough to do that. Don't take advantage. Don't take, hours of their time. They have a living to make as well. Another approach that you can take is just to say, hey, why don't we jump onto a Zoom call together and just tell each other what we do. So I'll explain what I do, you explain what you do, and the better understanding we have of each other's work, the more likely it is we will be able to refer business to our colleagues or to go to them professionally in a professional capacity and say, I actually need your help. So those are the kind of people that we have in this community. So Marcel has done that. I could give you example after example of what Marcel has done. But just to say that he is incredibly generous and incredibly creative. If you ever get a chance to see the magic shows that he puts on or that he hosts for his colleagues, his magic colleagues, you must take advantage of that. That's absolutely brilliant. Cindy and I went to one of the opening acts, and she nearly got her hand smashed onto a nail, but it was all magic.
We have photo evidence of that.
We have photo evidence. It was brilliant. So please take advantage of that. But Marcel, I'm going to kind of let you do your thing and introduce your concept and your ideas. Once Marcel is finished, we can have a little bit of time, 1 or 2 quick questions, and then we're going to break into breakaway rooms and we're going to discuss what we've learned and what we can do with that. And then we'll come back again and just give some feedback. So Marcel, I'm going to hand over to you.
Great. So it's been a while since I've done a webinar. Let me see if this works. Are we good there, Ian? Yeah.
Yes, we are. All good.
Okie dokie. Well, all right. So quick overview of what I want to cover today. The number 1 is to explain why adding fun stories, games, and unusual skills will help to effectively communicate your message. 2 will to inspire you to find your unusual skill and how to link it to your message. And 3, I'll share resources to help make your presentation more persuasive and captivating. All good? Yeah? Great. So, if you don't know, I'm a magician. That's my role. That's what I play at conferences. I help conferences make their events more exciting, more memorable, more interactive. And the way I do that is by using my unusual skill. What I do is I take, see if we can see this, the ordinary, all right, and using a bit of sleight of hand and comedy and magic, I turn the ordinary into the extraordinary, right? Now, if you got that on YouTube, you'll repeat that later. Good for you, okay? Now, why is this important for us as speakers? Because the extraordinary is what people talk about. The extraordinary is what people remember. The extraordinary is what we use to take our message and make money from it. Ta-da! I assume because you're all on mute, that's why I can't hear the applause. Okay. Oh, thank you. All right, so let's get into it. I want to start off by talking about disruption. I don't know if you guys have been feeling it in your work as speakers, but the world is changing quite rapidly, and the way we used to do things doesn't seem to be working quite the same way anymore. In fact, the fact that we're having a meeting here instead of a meeting inside of a conference room just goes to show how disrupted speaking and training and workshops can be, right? But I also want to talk about attention seeking, all right? So why attention seeking? There's so much going on. Everybody's on their phones. People can fact check your presentation while you're giving it. There's notifications. You could be at a beautiful PowerPoint screen and suddenly a notification pops up on the side and our eyes are all drawn to seeing that person's pop up, bing, no matter how out of context the conversation is. So we seem to have this attention disorder, and at the same time what we're trying to do is disrupt other people's thinking to try and invite them into our message. Now that disruption might be the form of an online advert. It might be an email that we've sent somebody. It might be making a phone call. It might also very well be disrupting them from the normal pattern of thinking that they've been using. It might also very well be disrupting them from a habit that they've formed. So these two things are intensively linked: disruption and attention seeking. So our tool that we use here, and the tool that I use as a magician, is, oh, wow, the element of surprise. So I'll give you an example of how I use that. Part of what I do for a certain type of interactive mix and mingle magic is to go up to groups of people, and my job is to start performing for them. And so I've found ways that I'm able to introduce myself to the group and very quickly, using the element of surprise, get everyone's attention. This is an important thing because surprise maintains the curiosity. And curiosity is what's going to be our tool later. So let me tell you this quick idea. Some of you may have seen this before. If you've seen this before, and if you know anything really about the triune brain model, you might already have an idea of what I'm going to say. And there might be some information that you're going to say, but hold on, that's problematic. We'll get there. This doctor, Dr. McLean, in the 60s, published a paper that he called about the triune brain model. And he suggested that there were three parts of the brain. The root part of the brain, you would call the reptilian or the primitive brain. This is the amygdala sitting right at the back of your brain. And he called it the reptile or primitive brain because in his thinking, this was where the brain first developed evolutionarily. That isn't a word, I'm making it now. And so that part of the brain does all our unconscious living things, like reminding us to, breathing, digestion, heart rates. These are not things that we consciously have to think about, but this part of the brain receives all the information from the nervous system and decides what to have to do with it. It's the part of the brain that has to keep you alive. So it's the part of the brain that when you burn yourself on a hot stove top, it tells you to move your arm as quickly as possible. Right. So all information is received first by the reptilian or primitive brain. Now I may even have a nice pointer. There we go. Okay. Then the next part of the brain, this part in the middle, is the limbic or mammalian brain. So this is where the hormones are released. This is where things like adrenaline get released from, oxytocin. All the hormones are making sense of the situation. Once the information is received by the reptilian or primitive brain, if it isn't immediately dangerous, then it'll tell us to send the information to the limbic system. It will do its part in terms of releasing hormones and feelings. And once information is passed through the limbic system, it goes to the neocortex, the gray, wrinkly part of the brain. It's in the neocortex or human brain that major analytical thought occurs. So your creativity sits in the neocortex. Your problem-solving abilities, your analytical abilities all sit there. So remember that information must first travel through the reptilian part of the brain to see whether it's dangerous or not. Then it moves to the mammalian brain, which releases feelings. And then it goes towards the neocortex, which is where the actual problem solving occurs. This is an important principle for communication because information has to be transmitted from your neocortex, where you've thought of it and created it as a speaker, and transmitted to another brain, which first takes it through the reptilian brain, then sends how it feels about it, and then it starts to analyze the problem. So if the information that you're sending to somebody is dangerous, the amygdala will cause panic. It will tell the limbic system to be very highly alerted. And if it's a particularly dangerous situation, it won't even let the thought go to the neocortex to find out how it solves this particular problem. It also explains why stress makes us stupid. You remember sitting in high school having to fill out exams and you're totally stressed and you can't find out the answers. And then like a couple of hours later when you relax, suddenly all the answers came to you. That's because the brain wants to spend as much energy where it needs to in terms of like emergencies or dangerous things that are happening. When we provide information that is lots of text, difficult concepts, lots of numbers, spreadsheets, the brain interprets that as dangerous information. It means, oh no, I have to think about this thing. All right? So you cannot communicate from your neocortex to somebody else's neocortex without going through these 3 stages of the brain. Now, why is this a good thing? Well, thanks to our friend Lorne Sulcus, the big cat guy, let's imagine that you're sitting in the room where you are now, and suddenly this lion runs into the room. If your brain is doing what it's supposed to do, which is get information, go through the amygdala, the reptile brain, go to the midbrain, and then go to the neocortex, your brain will see the lion, immediately identify it as danger, release adrenaline, and tell you to get out of the room as fast as possible. If the information was coming in the other if it was being processed in the other direction, then the moment that my brain identified the lion, the analytical creator side of my brain might ask, what kind of lion is that? What species of lion is that? Is it a male or a female? And by the time your brain's gone and spent all this time analyzing those questions, the lion's eaten you already. So it's a protective mechanism to work in the direction of, is it dangerous? Can I eat it? Can I mate with it? Or is it some curious, some surprising piece of information that deserves being processed more? And the curiosity is that part of the brain that goes, I'm curious, I want to find out more, I want to find out more. So stress makes you stupid. Let me show you how this works. I need this thing over here. All right, here I have a piece of card, okay? You're on mute, but I want you to yell this out. When I hold up this piece of card, I want you to say the color on this side. If your screen isn't working too well, this side's black, okay? So let's try. I'm going to hold it up. 1, 2, 3.
Black.
Black.
Thank you. Okay. This side is white. I'm going to hold it up. 1, 2, 3.
White.
White. Okay. Now I'm going to do this a couple of times. Okay. So here we go.
Black.
Black. White.
White.
I lost.
Black. Black. White.
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 Okay. What do cows drink?
Water.
Water.
Water. Okay. Okay. So when you're bombarding your brain with pieces of information, it sometimes gets so stuck up into looking at what that information is that it forgets to be able to analyze it properly. Okay. So I like to call this concept, do I know this joke? Okay, so I'm going to use this particular joke as an exercise, and I need this here. Okay. How do you fit an elephant in a cupboard in 3 easy steps? Charlotte?
Open the cupboard door,
Yeah?
put the elephant in, and then close the door.
Very good. You know this joke already.
Yes.
Okay. How do you know an elephant's been in your fridge?
Footprints in the butter.
Very good. How do you fit a giraffe in a cupboard in 4 easy steps?
You got to take the elephant out first.
Right. Open the door, take the elephant out. Take the elephant out, put the giraffe in, close the door. Okay, good. Now, some of you think you know this joke already, which is fine. It's going to prove a point later. Charlotte, how many elephants can you fit in a mini?
Well, I don't know.
6.
6.
2 in the front, 2 in the back, and 2 in the boot if you squeeze them in really tight.
Okay.
Okay. Now, this is going somewhere. How do you know you have 2 elephants? Or know that there were 2 elephants in your fridge?
No, you got me.
2 sets of footprints in the butter.
Okay.
Okay. Now we're going to get a bit weird. Why are elephants big, grey, and wrinkly?
They're too big to iron.
No, if they were small, white, and smooth, they'd be a panado.
Okay.
It gets worse. An elephant and a giraffe are in a race. Who wins?
The elephant. I mean, the giraffe by neck.
No, the giraffe's still stuck in the cupboard. The elephant wins. Okay. Right. So the reason I call this, do you know this joke, is because when we see things that we think we know something about, our brains kind of switch off to the pattern. Okay? In other words, your brain's saying, is this something familiar? Is this something I've recognized in the past? And if you've heard somebody tell a joke before that you know what the punchline is, you can quite easily switch off to what that person's joke is going to be, right? This can happen to... Hello? Good, come in. This can happen if you're starting your presentation with a lot of information that people think they already know. And so you're going to lose their attention because the amygdala is going, old information, discard. I don't need this information. And yet, comedy and laughter and jokes reveal a very interesting situation in the brain. What comedy does is it takes two unrelated ideas and in a rather bizarre twist, logically sticks them together. Okay? And at that moment, when those two weird things that were not normally within the same box in our thinking are connected, our brains go, ha, that's absurd and funny, and we laugh, right? So when you say, you know, you win by a neck, I hadn't thought about that line before. Because it was surprising to me, I went, oh, that's funny. The same thing happens with learning. The same thing happens when you have an idea. It's when you're taking two separate things that you hadn't connected before and you're finding an unusual relationship between the two. And so it's a very interesting thing that when you watch children learning, they're laughing. It's the brain rewarding you for figuring out a new neural pathway that you hadn't thought of before. So when people are laughing, they're learning, and when they're learning, they're laughing. That's why I like to use comedy, but I also like to use absurd and interesting different ideas of connecting things together. So, first thing you need to have for any keynote presentation is some sort of theme, overarching theme. Now, that's going to depend on your personality, what you're interested in, what your unusual skills are. Thank you, Charlotte, for raising the information about your steampunk-themed futurist work that you're doing. If I had work from that as a theme, I can come up with a whole different bunch of stories, ideas, and concepts. An overarching theme is going to be the fundamental building block for being able to build an interesting talk. Next thing you need to have is some sort of story, prop, or what I'd like to call your magic, okay? It is how you're going to create curiosity because people would not be expecting that thing that you're going to be telling or bringing or showing or doing. It's going to make them go, huh, what's about to happen? I'm very curious to see what happens. By the way, this is the same reason why you Game of Thrones fans still keep watching this last series, is because you're all just bloody curious to what's going to happen, right? So they can do anything at this point to mess up their story. You'll still watch next week, okay? Right. Once you've got your story, your prop, and your magic, now you need to tell your metaphor. How is this thing I've just done related to the key points that I am making? So how is this like that? How is magic like telling stories? How is juggling like managing staff? How is crocheting like working and putting a team together, right? We use that metaphor to convey the lesson. So you start with a theme, you apply a story, a prop, or some sort of skill. You tell them why that particular skill is the metaphor for your lesson, and then you expand onto the lesson. So remember this guy with the tree and brain model from the 1960s? Turns out that's a thing called, oops, lies to children. Okay, so this triune brain model, as much as it was published work, has been basically disregarded and discredited. That's not how the brain evolved. Okay? It's an interesting concept, and it certainly helps us understand a principle, but it's not the deep story of how the brain actually works. It turns out most parts of the brain work in collaboration to deal with these particular issues, but from a principle point of view, it does help us communicate. Tell people something that's in an environment, scratch that. Put them in an environment that they're safe in, that they're comfortable in, that the temperature's right, that they've had chance to rest. Give them information that doesn't frighten them, that creates curiosity, creates a feeling of interest, and it creates a feeling of desire, and then tell them the solution or the lesson that you're going to teach them. Why do I say lies to children? Well, it's a bit like the stuff that they teach you in school at science and engineering and maths, and then like within the first semester of university, they go, well, we taught you the easy way, but that's not really how that works. We just needed to get you here so that you were excited and interested, and now we can tell you how this really works. A good lesson that I learned this with was we teach children that rainbows are formed when the light goes through a raindrop and creates a prism. And then they show us by giving a plastic prism, shining white light through it, and turns into a display of a rainbow. But it doesn't explain why rainbows are arched, or if you're flying over them, why they're circular. All right? Turns out the prism idea is kind of right. It does split the light, and that's kind of what happens with rainbows, but that's not what actually happens. We just need you to get the idea that white light can be split into its separate components. In other words, it is perfectly acceptable to use a simple model to convey a complicated idea if people begin to understand why that simple model is such an effective way of describing the problem. In other words, what we're trying to do is this. Do you know what this is, Ian? Charlotte? Anyone?
It's not something to make alcohol.
Yeah, it's distilling.
Yes.
It's distilling water. Yeah. So what you're doing is you're taking a complex, difficult idea and you're distilling it into its basic, simple components. You convey that in a fun and interesting way that captivates people's attention. And once they've gone, okay, I get the basic components, then you go to the bigger, more complicated lesson. Okay. Here's the thing. We're not just speakers on a stage holding a microphone doing a PowerPoint presentation. I mean, today we are. But there's this interactive thing going on. And as speakers, as presenters, as performers, as artists, we want to be able to express ourselves into our presentation. It would make no sense if you're a person that enjoys funny quips or stories and jokes and try and do a completely serious presentation. People want to see your energy, enthusiasm in what it is that you're doing. Now, if you are a quiet, analytical person, there are ways to express yourself, but you can't just be this flat deliverer of information without understanding how people are viewing you and perceiving you and understanding what you're saying. What it is theater. Speaking is a theatrical production. It's got a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's got an opening, then you show them what you're going to show them, and then you close to a great crescendo where they go, wow, that's fantastic. You move the energy through the presentation. Remembering, of course, that the early ways that people used to convey ideas, and the first professional speakers that are recorded are Socrates. I remember this because I saw the statue in the bust in Charlotte and Richard's house. And that was formed as part of theater, Greek theater. They used to convey ideas through stories. So we have to think of our speaking presentations as a form of theater so that we know how to anticipate people's energy and attention levels and what they're going to enjoy and hopefully what they're going to applaud for at the end. Now I want to make sure that I haven't left out. I'm going to come back to this one before I go to the next slide. Ian, you there?
Yeah.
How do you know that you have the 6 elephants have been in your fridge?
Because there's 6 sets of footprints in the butter?
No, there's mini tire tracks in the butter. Okay. See, we're taking the link that you created beforehand, which was a weird abstract idea, and we're abstracting it further. Okay? And you'll see now this is the sort of pattern that we build into creativity. How do we make it go into another level? Okay. This is my daughter. Her name is Marcel. She's 10. She goes to a Waldorf school around the corner from us. If anybody's been involved in any form of Waldorf education, you'll know that the teaching method is to use themes, a major theme, and then to teach things like language, maths, physics, geography, all those biology, all those principles within a particular theme. This is a presentation that she had to do the other day. It was an oral on how the Egyptians were mummified. And each one of them was asked to do a presentation. And so what Mael did is she was the high priestess, and they used to put on the mask of the wolf. See, she's got a wolf head on, and the wolf's name was Anubis. All right, and you had to be very rich to be able to afford mummification. How do I remember this? Because I watched the presentation. And then they would cut open the mummy to take out the organs before they dried the body. So as part of her presentation, what Mael did is he looked at that little brown thing on the table in front of her. That's a little felt doll. And inside of the felt doll, the organs have been sewn in, including the brain into the head. And she took her little surgical scissors and a crochet hook and pulled the brain out the nose, like the Egyptians did, right? And cut open the inside and took out the heart and the lungs and the liver and the stomach, all right? And then she took the salt that's on her right, your left, in that little brass jar, and she scattered the salt on because they were dried, and then she had a bottle of red liquid. They used to put wine on it, and then they put the heart back. How do I remember this? Because she did it. It was just fun to watch. It was a participation process. And this is a prime example of children teaching their classmates through participation, through process. She had to do a little bit of research, and she had to come up with a fun performance way. Now, my daughter's primed for this kind of thing. My wife's also an educator. So for us to sit down and create this little educational presentation, it had the kids screaming as the brain was pulled out and as the salt went in. I had a similar experience at her age. My class teacher did an exercise on farming, on stock farming. And one day, we were all given these little templates of little cows and pigs and goats and sheep. Right? I'm 10 years old, so this is a couple of decades ago. Right? And what we had to do is we had to buy these templates with money that we had. We had to draw them on bits of paper, and then we had to cut out all the shapes. And then the teacher would buy the skins from us, and depending on how well cut out the shape was, she would pay us different money. So we worked out how to very quickly, within an hour or two, be a stock farmer by realizing how many cattle we had to buy, how neatly we had to cut them out and deliver them back, and how much money we had to buy more. I mean, I will remember that for the rest of my life. All right. I won't remember details about it, but I'm pretty sure for the test that happened the following week, I would have aced it. I think we all have experiences of these kinds of presentations that when we use our unusual skills, that people just are curious about what's going on, and a lesson is learned through that process. So I'm going to demonstrate this to you now using Bruce. Are you there, Bruce? Okay, so I use magic.
Yes,
That's the thing that I've been doing for 20 years, all right? It's something that I'm extremely passionate about, and I've worked out about 6 different magic tricks to be able to convey pretty much any message in a presentation. I'll get back to you in a moment, Bruce. Okay, so let me show you a simple way that I do this. Let's talk about how habits are formed. Do you want to be a speaker who writes a book? You need to be doing a bit of writing every single day. And here I have a piece of rope, and I'm going to use this rope as sort of your willpower, okay? So day 1, you sit down to write, you write a couple of words down about your idea, you're sort of not used to the process, and you drop off at the end of the day and you're a bit tired. The next day you sit down at your desk again, you take your piece of your willpower and you work and it doesn't really stick, all right? And day after day, you're just practicing and exercising and nothing's really sticking. And one day, because you've created this habit, something changes and sticks. Things aren't the same the way that they used to be. And now you have an opportunity to dedicate yourself, write your book, create your chapters, write your magazine articles. Don't get lazy, though. Don't assume that you suddenly develop the skill, because if you don't practice over and over and over again, what will happen is that habit and that skill will go away and things will return back to their normal selves. Okay? Ta-da! The office. Okay, very simple explanation. Okay? That'll get your attention. Yeah, look, there's my notes for the talk. Okay, so this is something that you can buy at any magic shop or toy store. It's really simple. What it is, it's a rope with a piece of plastic inside. And if you hold it this way, it's floppy. And if you hold it this way, it's tense. And so just by twisting it, it'll flop. It's like those snakes that you've seen before that you do like that thing for. That's like that kind of thing inside there. Okay? Very simple way to demonstrate. All right, Bruce, here comes your question.
Sorry, Marcel, are you looking for Bruce Wade or Bruce Page?
Bruce Wade. But Bruce Page will be fine. Bruce Page is here. No, Bruce, go for it. Okay. Bruce, what general category do you speak in?
Science education.
Okay. How is science education like juggling?
How is it like juggling, did you say?
Like juggling.
Well, you have to keep several things in the air at once. It's
okay.
Very seldom a simple linear type of story that you're telling. So the plot of the story is, I suppose, a little like juggling in that you've got to keep several things alive at once.
Cool. And
Beyond
so
that, I'm not sure.
that I put you on the spot for a reason, because you've already found a very simple link between what it is you speak about and what juggling is. Okay? Let me use it. Thank you, Bruce. I'm going to use Bruce Wade for this next one. Bruce, are you there?
I am.
Okay. Bruce, give us a simple category that you speak on.
Entrepreneurship.
Entrepreneurship. How is entrepreneurship like being a chef?
If you don't watch out, you're going to get burnt. And
Okay.
you're serving clients.
Yes.
And you've got a multitude of ingredients to come up with a different set of menus to please other people.
Great. Perfect. Thank you, Bruce. Hello, Paul DeToy. Can I use you for the next one? Yeah, you need to unmute there. Okay, I just saw your face pop up. I'll come back to you, Paul. Jay. You're there. Can we unmute you?
Hi.
Okay, give us your general
Yeah,
category that you speak on. Cool, I'll come back to you for in a sec, Paul. Yeah, what's your general topic?
Empowerment, self-care.
Okay, how is empowerment related, not to flying or this particular aeroplane, but how does this image relate to empowerment?
I guess if you're willing to put in the hours, the sky's the limit.
Very nice.
And there really are no boundaries to where you can go.
Ah, that's excellent. So if you extrapolate that a little bit or expand on it, it might be that you need to have a lot of energy on the ground with the right equipment, but the moment that you take off, you've got pretty much ultimate freedom.
Yeah.
As long as you've got enough fuel in the tank.
There's that.
Okay. Thank you, Jay. All right. Paul Dutoit, you're next.
I'm here.
All right. Your general category?
Okay, so teaching speakers to speak better.
Okay. How are these Rubik's Cubes related to that topic?
Because there are different topics that speakers speak on, and they all produce different outcomes in the audiences.
Okay. There's one block that's mixed up. If that was a row of 6 speakers, what happened to the one block that's mixed up?
Well, that's the generalist who tries to be all things to everybody.
So he's busy screwing and messing around so much that none of his sides actually display even one color correctly.
Yeah, pretty much.
Remember, we're doing this on the fly. That's for the purpose of the exercise first. Thank you, Paul. Okay, I have another one. Let me go with, can I see everybody who else is here? Michael. Hello, Michael. Okay, hi, Michael. I'm going to ask you to unmute for a moment. I don't think we've met before. What's your topic, Michael?
I can't remember what I wrote there.
What's your topic that you speak about in general?
It's always relating to lesson in life, you know, the coming from in as opposed to taking information from the outside.
Okay, this is going to be challenging.
Yeah.
How is that related to glass blowing?
Oh, that's tough. I would imagine if you had to blow glass, the air is something that's coming from within you and wouldn't bend its shape unless there was some pressure coming from outside of it.
Yes! I saw that one when I saw that slide. Okay, so you've got to have some sort of push from within you to be able to expand your project, and then you use different tools and expertise to mold that project using what starts off as your breath. Great! Excellent! Oh, that was lucky. Thank you, Michael. Let's pick one more here, somebody that I can see. Roger! Hello, Roger.
How you doing, Marcel?
Lovely. Sorry, I'm realize I must choose people with headsets on because the sound is normally a little bit clearer. Okay. Please give me your general topic.
I teach people or I speak about how to avoid emotional state capture.
How is that related to finger puppetry?
Well, you know, your fingers are vitally important parts of the body. You know, you use your thumb for hitchhiking. You use your finger for scratching your ear. You use your middle finger for counting money. And so we go. And it's no good trying to count money with the wrong state of mind. And if you allow people to tell you that you can only count money with your middle finger, you're wrong, because you can also count it with your thumb.
So it's like if the money finger was supposed to be like a tiger and you've put a SpongeBob on top of it, you may be using the right finger, but you're using the wrong attitude.
Correct, yeah. Wrong state of mind gets the wrong result.
Great. Thank you, Roger. Hello, Granny B.
Hi there.
How are you? What's your general topic?
To find the treasure within you.
Okay. This is, I won't tell you too much about this picture. How does this speak to you about your subject?
Well, this person is really tense with what they're doing and they are fearful. That's what I get. Can I do it? How can I do it? And I would just like to be able to, there's something blurred in front of them. I don't know whether they're tense about what they're seeing or whether they're tense about what they're carrying, but there's real tension there. And
okay. I'll tell you what it is. It might help. This is kind of like a Lego version of William Tell. In the out of focus in the front is William Tell with his crossbow and the apples on top of the little boy's head.
Yeah, got it. Right. Well, then I could say you better quickly find what your treasure is within. Because I'm going to shoot it bow by bow. And yes.
Cool. So we're exploring these ideas. Sometimes we don't even have to have specific images. Binzi, hello. Can you speak? Are you able to join us here?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Cool.
Right.
Yes. Hello, Binzi. And your general topic is?
Empowering teens.
Okay. How is this image, what does this image tell you about empowering teens?
All right. So those are a lot of colored blue tacks, right?
They're the push pins that you put
Thumbtacks.
into a board. Yeah,
Yeah,
thumbtacks.
the push pins. Yeah. So, well, from where I see it, I think these are all beautifully multicolored teens. And if they are focused and if they know what their target is, bingo. You know?
Like they have roots in something, so you can't just move them around without putting some sort of force or pressure on them. Great.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Benzi. Let me
Thank you,
see who
thank
else
you.
I have here. Hello, Melanie. You're next.
Great, thank you.
Okay, Melanie, I'm not going to give you the picture yet because you'll see why in a second. Your general topic is?
Is financial freedom, money.
Okay, and here's your image.
I don't even know what that is.
That's why I picked it.
Okay, so everything you do, you've got to start at the core somewhere.
Yeah.
And you start somewhere and it's just going to multiply and become more and more and more as you start compounding all your money into the middle.
Okay. What if I told you that that was a staircase? Does that help your story?
Okay, so if it's a staircase, if you want to get to the top and you start at the bottom, you've just got to be very consistent.
Yeah, it takes energy to work step by step, one step at a time.
Yes.
Excellent. So, thank you. So what I've demonstrated here is how, in a very quick way, we can find those unconnected ideas and attach them together in a way that you may not have considered before, right? This doesn't have anything to do with your skill yet. Back to Ian Hutton. Ian Hutton, are you there, sir?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, another follow-up. The lion is throwing a party and has invited all the animals. Who can't go?
Don't
worry, the giraffe, he's still in the fridge.
He's still in the fridge, yes.
Okay. Right. So we're creating these little links of unrelated ideas, and yet we're creating some sort of theme and consistency around the world of this particular joke. Right. I use magic, but I did ask some of you for some interesting ideas of the skills that you do. And so I'm going to read them off the list. So what happened was when I asked this question, I got answers like, I always have a zillion solutions. Now, that is correct. That is an unusual skill. But that's not what I was trying to get. And so that was the quality of my question that dictated the quality of that answer. It's a great answer. But what I was looking for was things like, I can follow animal tracks, yoga on the go, pivoting on the back wheels of my wheelchair, doing wheelies, which is an unusual skill, a guitarist or a singer. Or one of the things that I particularly like was Argentinian tango. So I hope we get to see that at the next conference, right? Everybody has some weird or unusual skill, whether it is cooking or playing a yo-yo or being able to fill a Sudoku out in mind-blowingly fast time. You have some unusual thing, or normally some sort of hobby or sport or activity that you've gotten good at that other people aren't. And so when you do a demonstration of these unusual things, your audience instantly wants to be, their attention is on that particular item. They want to see what it is that you're going to do. And in that being demonstrating of that particular skill, you can insert your message. So to the guitarist or the singer, I would recommend writing the song of your message. It doesn't have to be the whole talk, but if you started out your talk by walking onto stage with your guitar and you started playing a few notes badly and said, sorry, I just learned this last week, and then break into a beautiful piece of music where you sing the intro to your topic, you're going to have everyone's attention straight away. singing is a difficult way to convey a message, but if you were enunciating clearly and it wasn't too, the music wasn't too loud, you could introduce your topic like that. If you're a person that likes to add comedy and humor, it's normally going to be a joke that's themed to the topic. Although if anybody ever introduces me at a gala dinner with the stupid parrot and magician on the cruise ship joke again, I'll let you know, okay? They are the same jokes that get told all the time. Anybody heard the story about the starfish and throwing it back into the sea? All right, for those of us who know that, and I see multiple heads nodding, we all know what the punchline to that is. So once we hear that start of the story, we switch off. Okay? So if you're going to use a joke or a piece of humor, don't use something that's well known, because you're going to lose people's attention straight away. Once you've got that unusual skill, you spend some time thinking about how you link those particular things together. How are they related to each other? So what I'm going to do from this point on, Ian, I think we're about to break into groups. What I want to have is, how many groups are we going to have, Ian? Ian Hutton.
So we're probably going to do 6 groups tonight, Marcel. But you do need to stop your slides for me to be able to do it.
Yes, so I'm going to be doing that now. What I want to do is, I'm going to give out 6, how do I switch this? Oh, the Zoom share slider has gone away. Ah, there it is. Unusual, let's tick, okay. Stop share, okay. So I want to take 6 different unusual skills, and I'm going to number them here in the chat. Number 1 is going to be super fast Sudoku. Number 2 is going to be animal tracking. Okay, number 3 is going to be, what was the one that I saw the other day? Painting. Oh, no. Silhouette cutting. I really wish I had said that after I tried to spell it. Silhouette cutting. Okay, if you don't know what that is where you sit down on a chair at like a fair or a market, and a person takes a piece of paper and a very sharp pair of scissors, and they look at the side of your face and they can cut out the silhouette of your face, like a shadow, and they stick it on a piece of paper. So silhouette cutting. 4 is going to be excellent cricket player. Okay. Number 5 is going to be a model. No, let's make it interesting. Let's make it a model, a fashion model. Okay. And that's 5. And number 6 is going to be unicycle. Okay. So I'm not sure how the groups get numbered, but those are the 6 different unique skills. Okay. And then I'm going to put A, B, C,
So
D
Charlotte's busy just creating the groups right now.
Cool.
And okay, now you're doing the topics. Okay, cool.
Yes. Okay. CD is going to
nice,
be
thank you.
Ethics. E is going to be entrepreneurship. I can spell that. And F is going to be tech shifts in work. Things like social media, iPhones, computers, etc. Okay, right. So what I want to do is each group needs to have 1 unusual skill and 1 topic.
Marcel, do you want us to do 1 with A, 2 with B, or do you want us to mix them up?
No, let's just do 1 with A, 2 with B.
Okay, cool. Charlotte, have you got 6 groups?
I'm busy doing that. This is, and let me just give you the names. So group 1 is going to be Bruce Wade. Group 2 is Russ Boucher. Group 3 is Paul DeToy. Group 4 is Taryn. Group 5 is Melanie. Group 6 is Sue Fuller-Good. And can other people just go in, or must I sign them all?
Did you not create the random groups of 6? I mean,
no,
sorry,
I
6 total
signed,
groups. Okay.
I signed so that I could put assign those names.
Okay, cool. So you now need to assign the rest into those 6 as well.
Okay. All right.
So did those of you kind of hear who's kind of, let's call it the first person or the lead person in each group? So group 1, you're going to do super fast Sudoku with leadership. Group 2 is going to be animal tracking with sales. Group 3 is going to be silhouette cutting with customer service. Group 4 is going to be excellent cricket player with ethics. Group 5 is going to be fashion model with entrepreneurship. And group 6 is going to be leadership with tech shifts in work.
Okay, so the outcome of it is a way to demonstrate that concept using the unique skill. So think of a couple of ideas. It doesn't have to, I'm not saying make a whole keynote out of it. It's one portion of a presentation that might be up to 5 or 6 minutes, something like that.
Okay, people are being assigned to rooms now.
Do they stay in here?
No.
Oh.
Okay. Sorry, this is the first time I've done it, so obviously I've not done it correctly.
It's going correctly. It just takes a while for everybody's kicking. Everybody's got to click agree, and then it happens. It's getting there. It's getting there.
Good. Who have we got
Just got
left?
iPhone and Jafta left. Okay, just Jafta left.
Hi, Jafta.
I did assign iPhone. Wait, why is Jafta still here?
He hadn't clicked yet. Now he's clicked.
Oh, it's the 3 of us.
Hello.
Okay, so one of you is doing the timing, right?
Yeah.
Timing.
How long are we going to do?
15 minutes, is that enough?
I think 10 minutes is probably going to be fine.
10, okay. So I'll time the 10 minutes. Charlotte, do you want to maybe do a broadcast message? Because I don't think I can do it. If you go back to the breakout thing, you can do a broadcast message and just tell them 10 minutes.
And we'll give them a warning at 10 minutes.
Yeah, so we'll give them a warning at 5 minutes, and then we'll warn them again before we stop. There we go. I've got your message, Charlotte. Thank you. And then, Charlotte, I wondered if you shouldn't also broadcast these names again, the one through F, from the chat box. I wonder if we shouldn't just copy and paste those in.
Oh, Lisa's back.
Lisa, did you get kicked out?
No, I volunteered to go looking for the actual topic that we have to talk about.
Okay, we're going to send them to everybody now. I think Charlotte's going to just copy and paste it in broadcast message. So, Lisa, we can put back. Charlotte, maybe you can do that. Which group were you in, Lisa?
4.
4, okay.
Cool. All right.
Aha. Cricket player in ethics. Great stuff.
Okay, now
Just
you
need to put Lisa back into group 4, yeah.
That's amazing.
Sorry, she's still there. I can't. Lisa, just
She's
try and join.
Lisa, is there something where you got to click still, maybe?
No, I don't think so. I can
It
leave.
seems like
Oh, wait. There we are. Okay.
Good.
Okay, while we're here, may as well give us the topic.
Okay.
Okay.
Personal development and photography.
It's a pity we don't use development film anymore, because then, you know, development and film. But let's go with...
Could you do that, though?
I guess you could.
Old-fashioned photography, what took more time, was more manual. There was more development work. Maybe these days, when we've got apps and things like that, we are a bit more superficial about the photography and about the development work. We do a quick 5-minute meditation on the app, and we think that we've really done it.
Okay.
I like it.
I've also just put in the chat, if you can broadcast, they can also think about props that they can use.
Okay.
So what could you bring to a presentation that talks about photography and personal development?
One of the things that I would think about, because I do play a little bit with photography, is you can learn all the theory you like. Until you've actually done it in real life, you don't know how to be a photographer.
Okay, that's a good one. I'll prompt with an idea. How do lenses work?
Well, you've got to bring things into focus.
And self-development is that. Ian, sorry, are you keeping an eye on the time?
6 minutes and 35 seconds to go.
Okay, because I'm shocking with time.
It's okay, I've got a timer running.
I spoke to Gary Hurston the other day, who's a speaker who works with Pecha Kucha, and he was telling me about there's the subject that you're taking the photograph and the photographer, and there's a relationship between those things.
Mm.
Okay?
Mm.
So that might be an area that, if you know things about photography, you're educating people about the technique of photography, but it's the metaphor for the lesson that you're giving. Do you guys know about golden hour?
We know of a golden hour. I wonder if it's the same one that you're talking about.
Okay. In the photography context, what's the golden hour?
Normally dusk and dawn, isn't it? Or a little bit.
But why?
Something about lighting. I know the middle of the day is bad.
Yeah. The amount of light that's available is less, so you're able to focus more on particular things. You're able to open up your camera lens much wider. You're able to use a much slower speed of photography. That's pretty much what I know from the bulk of photography. Okay.
I mean, there's also things like zooming in or zooming out. Times you need to zoom in, times you need to zoom out, depending on what you're trying to do, and you can't just have one focal length.
There's a thing on smartphones these days where you can take a photograph with a narrow aperture, and once the photograph's been taken, you can click on the subject and it creates the aperture around that subject, and then you can click at different parts of the photo and the camera will take all that information and focus on that thing that you click next after the photo was taken.
Good Lord.
Okay. But how does that relate to personal development? It might not. I'm just this is the point of this exercise, is to go, okay, what else is there? So like it used to be, I like the idea of years ago, you used to take the photograph and you'd have to wait days to be able to see how it developed. And then you'd go to the clicks and you'd go and look through the photographs and you'd throw out all the ones that were stupid photographs. And we don't do that anymore, which means that on the one hand, we far more critically analyze the results on our phone and delete very quickly. Whereas years ago, you'd take photographs in the hope that something would develop nicely, and then you'd throw away a few of them at the end, but you didn't have to spend your time around everybody around the phone going, oh, wait, my eyes were closed.
Yeah. Also, I think I've noticed, especially with children, because of Instagram and how the photographs are supposed to look, is that they've got a much more critical visual eye than I ever had as a kid. So, we take that photograph and 2 weeks later when we get the image back, we've forgotten how we set it up. But they can keep adjusting to get some perfect and very often not realistic view of reality that they then try and live up to. Or they put lenses over filters.
Sorry, Charlotte, could you quickly send out a 3-minute warning for everybody? 3 minutes to go.
Yeah, I like the idea of adding those, what do they call them, the filters?
Yeah.
Where suddenly you got like funny ears and a funny face and you take a photograph and it's like, it's not actually a photograph anymore. It's like an instant animation.
So there's a girl recently in somewhere in the East who's gone and had facial surgery so that she will look like her Instagram filter, because it distresses her to see her real image. She wants to look like the filter, which is...
Our photos are also a lot more shareable and viewable these days, aren't they? I mean, in the past, you take a photograph, and the only way you could show someone was if they were in your house and you'd captured them with your holiday snaps.
Yeah.
Or they were published in a newspaper somewhere. So you would have, if you were having a photograph before, you may have put on makeup and check your hair before you're doing it. Now, you've got to be Instagrammable pretty much any moment, anywhere you are.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's a positive thing for personal development, but what it tells us is that just in the metaphor of photography, the pressure is a lot more on these days constantly to be developed.
Yeah.
And almost photoshopped every damn moment out of your day.
That's it. The other thing is I heard a comedian the other day say something about what George Orwell got wrong in 1984 is that we'd buy the cameras ourselves and then worry that people weren't watching us all the time.
Brilliant. 1 minute to go.
Certainly makes you think.
It does.
Did you know that the old photos where people weren't smiling in them wasn't because people weren't happy in those days? It was because the photos would take the light, it would take so long to develop on the film that if they smiled or moved, it would cause a blur. So it didn't mean that they weren't happy. It was just that's how you would have to take a photograph to get a photograph.
Love it.
And they also took photographs of corpses because they might not have taken a photograph of a child or something before.
Yes, they put dead people in the family portrait.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Now we've got dead Instagram accounts.
Oh, well, there we go.
10 seconds to go so that we can call them back.
Yeah.
Ian, would you be able to do a feedback on that within our group?
Okay, sure. Sure.
Yeah, just a brief summary. Okay, I think everybody's slowly coming back again.
Yep.
I really like my theatre. This is not what I planned for you guys at all.
The big reveal.
I still have my Pisasa clock up there.
Oh, yeah.
Mine dropped off the wall.
Oh, don't worry, my door dropped off, so my whole curtain fell down. So literally revealing the behind-the-scenes look of how this office works. It's a good thing I'm not turning this camera around. It's a workshop. What can I say? Okay, cool. We've got 16 people back. 17.
Yeah.
Okay, Charlotte, would you facilitate the going between the groups, please?
I could, or Ian could, because Ian does it really well.
Okay, you've got the list of names there.
No, I've lost the list of names.
Okay, so we've got most of the people back now. If we can just go through it sequentially, one by one, each group. So group number one, I don't know if you guys actually discussed appointing a spokesperson, but can somebody from group number one volunteer to give some feedback of your discussion just in about 1 minute, because otherwise we're going to run out of time.
Cool.
Sorry, okay. Wait. There, go.
Okay, go. 1 minute, starting now. Okay, cool. So we made some bullet points. For us, the super fast Sudoku was about that big picture thinking, not sort of just, trying and fitting and discarding. It speaks to that logical brain of your leader. It's about when you do get that line that adds up, celebrating the small wins within that big picture. It's a problem-solving thing. If you make a mistake, you can erase and get it right. Nothing's cast in stone. You can move with it. You can evolve. finding the right, so finding that right number for the right block speaks to finding the right resource, the right person within your organization to align them to. It's a science. It's not a guessing game. Sudoku is not a guessing game. It's in terms of the super fast. It's that speed in decision making, in taking action, in being decisive. It's thinking outside the box, and it's about the fact that every single line and column has to add up, and that can speak to your every level of your organization, across teams. It all has to line up. It all has to add up at the end of the day. Make it work. 1 minute clock.
Well done, Jay. You had 1 minute and 7 seconds. Brilliant.
Oh, damn.
Brilliant. Group number 2, what did you have? Anybody want to volunteer?
I have been commandeered. Right.
Thanks, Granny.
We didn't have a clue what to do, so we made up our mind as to what we will do, and here it comes. Number 1, we decided that the tracker is our speciality. And in sales, to use that speciality of a tracker means you've got to look carefully at all the things around you. You understand prints, you understand the environment, you understand everything to be able to come to the place where you find that animal or whatever it is you're tracking for. Within sales, it's the same thing. You have to be able to have a look at everything around the scenario, the person, the environment, everything, to be able to understand how to come to the place where you can present the sale. So we have this great thing because of what we all do. We say, why do you find your purpose in self-care? That ended up bringing it together. And there's my minute. Bye-bye.
B, thank you very much. On my timer, you still had a few more seconds, but very well done. Group number 2, who's going to speak for you? 3, sorry, group number 3.
Maria.
Yeah, and is that the silhouette cutting?
Yes,
Yeah.
Marcel's agreeing, yes.
All right. So for silhouette cutting, I want to run the bullet words quickly. It's precision, blueprint, and it is the tailored solution. And it's the avatar where you actually have the general print, but then you actually go and tailor it to make it different so that it suits a different customer's need. So what we say there is there's generally like a EOS test should be a certain way, but each airline have their own unique offering on the in the service. And then we also spoke about, so if the customer gave you the requirement and you've met the requirement, they should recognize what they asked you for, what they had in mind. They would either need to see it or relate to it and feel comfortable with what that you delivered, and that's relating to silhouette cutting.
Brilliant. And 50 seconds, and I saw Marcel clapping. He loved it. So well done, Mariette. And team 3. Team number 4, the cricket playing. Who's going to speak?
Yeah.
Who's going to speak for
Yeah,
team
can you hear me, Ian? Yeah.
Yes, got you,
That's me.
Binzi. Go, Binny.
All right. Hi, so my 1 minute starts now. Cricket is a gentleman's game, and hence, even more important, that ethics is always paramount, right? We give an example of mankading. I don't know how many of you guys know what mankading is, but it's an informal name given to an attempt to run out the non-striking batsman while they are backing up. Now, this is perfectly legal within the laws of cricket, but it's often seen as against the spirit of the game, right? This is where the ethic actually comes in, because ethic is also about the spirit of the game. And we actually use the rope, the line, as our prop here. So it's not crossing the line at all times. Thank you.
That was absolutely brilliant. And 45 seconds. Very well done, Binny. All right, then team number 5 is the fashion model with entrepreneurship. Who's going to speak?
Okay, so that's me. So
hey,
we've
Melanie.
got a couple of keywords. How's it, Ian? Your fashion model is very much in order, exudes confidence. Okay, the link was to entrepreneurship. It's your brand. We also spoke about you're vulnerable in the background, so you perceive you are a certain thing, but in the background you're actually a lot more vulnerable. You are authentic. You've got to look the part, and it's that first impression, and you have to ooze confidence to everyone, whether it's what you're feeling or not as an entrepreneur. And if you come out with all kinds of different things that don't match, it's how sometimes entrepreneurs feel all over the show.
Very good. 35 seconds. Amazing. Well done, Melanie. Thank you. And then finally, we have group 6, the unicycle with the tech shifts at work. How do we get to unicycle now? Okay. I messed that one up earlier. Okay, cool. Who's group 6?
Thank you. I'll be speaking for the group. What we'd like you to imagine is that Sue's actually sitting on one of those very big exercise balls that you see in gym. And she's our prop and demonstrating.
She's actually standing on it.
Are you standing on it? She's brilliant. Such core strength. And that's essentially what this is all about. So we said the link between the two is that fundamentally we're still talking about communication. And we still have a tire and we have pedals. And whilst a unicycle may require specific balance and focus, essentially we're still talking about the same tools. What you need to do, and the reason we're using this parallel, this analogy, is it's all about how to keep balance. You need to use your tech very wisely. You need to keep focused as you would on a unicycle, or you're going to come short fairly painfully. And keeping focused means keeping healthy. It's keeping your core, that single-minded focus on the communication is still the same discipline. If at the end of the day you don't maintain your flexibility, keep that focus, try and embrace the innovation, you may well see your butt when you come short, but then the challenge is just how quickly you can bounce back and get onto the bike. That's it.
Love it, and timing perfect. Thank you, Dawn. Very well done.
And Ian, can we hear from you for group 7? We had photography and personal development.
Great. So yeah, Charlotte and Marcel and I had a conversation around that, and there were a few things that came out. One of them being that you can learn all the theory you like about photography, but until you actually get out there and do it, nothing changes. You don't really know anything. And so personal development, you really do need to be doing it. It's not just a matter of learning theory. Learning theory is not enough, but you need theory too. You need to understand the relationship between aperture and exposure and all that kind of stuff. We also spoke of focus, the importance of focus, that you don't want things out of focus. And in fact, you could even zoom in and zoom out. And in your personal development, you might not want to only be focused on the micro thing, but actually try and see the bigger picture as well. And you need a bit of both. What else did we talk about? We spoke about, with some of the modern developments. You know, in the old days, developing, it took time and a lot of effort, and you didn't know what it was going to be like until much later. And now with the modern technology, things are a lot quicker, which is a bit of a pro and a con. I mean, you can see your result immediately so that you can make your adjustments as you need in your personal development. Thank you for the selfie idea from Jay. We'll make sure we do that. In fact, I imagine that Charlotte's already taken a couple of selfies off the screen, knowing Charlotte. I've taken one too, actually. So you've got that thing of making adjustments a lot quicker these days, and so we get a lot of support. We have apps, apps for meditation, apps for all sorts of things that can also help us in our personal development. I could say a lot more, but I think I'll stop there.
That's your 1 minute.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Okay, so the purpose of this exercise is to show you that if you had an unusual skill or prop on stage with you, rather than just a video and image, everything we've discussed now, you'd be able to demonstrate physically in front of an audience. So even riding a bicycle, if you rode a bicycle across the stage, I promise you people will stop in their train of thought of what they were thinking and pay attention to you riding a bicycle because it's unusual. And then you could easily say, look, if I didn't ride fast enough, I'd fall off the end of the stage. That's the same as, what was our bicycle analogy again? I'll remember now. Unicycle 6 was, entrepreneurship. No, it was the tech.
Tech,
okay.
Yeah.
So rather than just talking about the bicycle, I'm suggesting put the bicycle on stage. This is where the wow comes in when it comes to my types of presentations as a magician, is that I'm just not talking about creating a wow moment. I'm actually showing you what the wow moment looks like. So I'll give you guys an analogy of how, an example of how I've used this in a recent talk, and that's now available on the market. It's called Ethic Learnings from a Professional Trickster. So what I'm doing is I'm a professional deceiver on stage. And so who best to talk about lying and cheating and ethics than somebody that's told them that I'm going to be doing those things? The difference is a magician tells the audience beforehand that he's going to fool them. What happens when people are still fooled by the same kinds of illusions, whether that's communication or cheating or forgery or fraud, and those things are unseen and not spoken about? And so what I'm able to do is to take a short video that talks about reminding people that if you remind people regularly about ethics, they behave more ethically. That's Dan Arini's research. And so for my clients, they're required to constantly remind their staff about ethics. But ethics is kind of a boring and touchy subject. Who really wants to hear about it regularly? So when we get their attention and their curiosity that it's going to be by a magician who's a professional trickster, we actually fill the room with staff members who probably could have sneaked out early that day, but decided to stay for the fun and laughter. And that comes to the second thing about what I do is because I'm making people laugh at the situations that I create, they're having fun together, and the message is more likely to stick at the end. Now, I'm not expecting anybody to do a 45-minute demonstration of tricks, but if you were talking about the Sudoku example and everybody had a Sudoku on their table, you could show them how some people can do it faster than others. And then you use those examples of something that people actually participate in. Same thing with if you were the cricket player. You might have the stumps with you. You might have the ball with you. You might have a drawing of the field on the screen. And then you can keep going. Like, what's this? This bat is the thing that does this. The bowler is required to do that. So rather than just showing images about this, do it in your presentations. It just makes it more fun to do, and the audience enjoys it more. And more importantly, they have, like I had the experience of cutting out cows and sheep from pieces of paper, and my daughter cutting open a felt mummy doll and taking out the things. People are going to remember those little pieces of participation rather than just what you've shown them and what you've spoken about. Float, my story is out.
Incredible. Ian, do you want to say any words?
Yeah, just thanks, Marcel. I love the imagery and I love the way you brought it to life. And I want to encourage everybody that if you do want some help in this area, really speak to Marcel. And maybe you can tell your clients about Marcel as well. And we can build more community of helping each other that way as well.
Fantastic.
Oh, I have one last request. If you enjoyed what I presented today, would you mind going to my LinkedIn profile and doing an endorsement on creative consulting, or just some sort of commentary on there on what you saw from this presentation? I'll put my link in the chat box.
Great, thank you. And I'll remind everyone as well. Thank you very much. Like I said, Marcel helped Richard and I very much in a couple of items that we've done, but specifically the smoke and mirrors. If you want to have a look at that, if you haven't seen the link, it was right at the beginning of the chat, but if you want to see the link to the video, then you can let me know and I'll just drop me an email and I'll send that to you. But Marcel really is an incredible asset to PSA. Thank you very much for everything that you've done and for this insight. And I just had an absolute ball with the session. It was so exciting and interesting and challenging. I collect miniatures and I crochet, and I'm not too sure that I'm going to be able to work that onto stage easily. But you're getting ideas. We'll talk about that later, Marcel. But yes, there are certainly things we can play with. Okay, we're wrapping up. Please feel free to go if you need to go and put children to bed or do other things. But if you want to just have a quick shout out to your friends while you're here, please go ahead and do that. That'll be great.
Yeah,
thanks.
and if,
I'd just like to say something quickly.
Sure.
Yeah,
can everyone hear me?
Yes.
I think we should end most of our sessions by just reminding everyone that we have an annual convention, and that next year it's going to be at the beginning of April in Cape Town. So if you've been making excuses about why you weren't at the last convention, start putting away 500 Rand a month now, and you'll be at the next convention.
Good. Thank you, Paul.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Paul.
And the
support that.
midterm conventions in Durban, so don't forget that one in October. That's going to be great. Marcel?
I've got about 10-15 minutes here still. So if somebody wants to ask a question that they don't mind me answering in front of the group, I'm happy to take a question now. I don't know. Raise your hand, I think, is the best way to do that, which in the chat window seems to be a little blue button that says raise hand.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't find Rose's hand, so can I ask?
Okay, we'll start with
Mariette
Melanie, who yelled out
Mariette
first.
had raised
Oh, good. I'll go to Mariette first, and then Melanie, you're
Mariette
next.
and then Melanie. Yeah.
Okay.
Marcel, where can we pick up material of illusions and things that we can use and learn how to use them well? What sites would you recommend us exploring?
Okay. I would recommend that you don't do magic. Okay. Number one, there's a very good reason for that. If you show one magic trick, people are going to expect more. All right. And if you don't do it, then you've just shown them a trick. You're not a magician. So, and I've had this question from a number of people in the past. And the thing is, it takes quite a long time to work out which magic trick is actually great for you. So here's some other resources which I was supposed to share. You should see my screen, my share screen now. This will be sent off via email to the others that had to leave. Here are 3 resources I recommend. One is Pitch Anything by Oren Klaff, Orenklaff. And he talks about that Triyun model and how he uses that model to create 20-minute pitches to clients, and he's made billions of dollars doing pitches. So it's a psychological understanding of how the brain works and how to create a presentation around curiosity and desire. So there's some good information there as a sort of foundational thing. The next one I recommend is by one of my mentors in the States. I went to go study with him, called How to Persuade People Who Don't Want to Be Persuaded. Now, I just told you I don't want to give up, don't go and do magic tricks, but there's some really good ones in this book because Joel Bauer is also a magician. And so he talks about how this process of persuasion works using transformational mechanisms, which is essentially a transformational mechanism is you're demonstrating some sort of skill and you're teaching a metaphor with it. So that's the basis of how I got to my talk. And if it wasn't for me learning with Joel over 4 days in the States, I would have never been able to do this type of presentation today. Right. Another resource is Business Improv. This is a great book by Val Guy and Sarah Guy, and it's got a whole bunch of improv games and exercises that anybody can do. The instructions are with each game, and it has a great way of explaining how that game relates to a particular message, whether it's leadership, creative thinking, communication. Improv itself is a fantastic skill to use, and it's great for a speaker. But if you want to do an interactive exercise with a group of people fairly quickly, this book will give you some really good examples. And then there's the online improv encyclopedia that has got hundreds of improv games that you can play, sorted by category and outcome. And it's a great way if you just need some sort of quick activity to get a message across. That improv encyclopedia is free, and it's got tons of games and things that you can play on there. But more importantly, find the thing that you know how to do already that's unusual, and you will have better results because you're the one demonstrating the thing that you know how to do well. So I hope that kind of answered your question. I'm going to stop the share. We will send these links with an email afterwards. We had Melanie. Melanie, you're on.
Great, thanks Marcel. So as a total non-creator, this has been quite interesting for me to try and get my mind into what can I do. And I'm doing presentations to try and convince people to actually come to me for coaching in terms of sorting out their personal finances. So do you have any off the top of your head thing that you could suggest that I could try and do?
Personal finances.
Mm.
What is the context that you would do this in?
In a talk. So
is it like a networking talk where you've got like a 5-minute speaker slot?
Like a 20-minute speaker slot.
Okay, and these are prospective customers in front of you?
Yes.
I do something with physical money. Or like if you have foreign currencies, like you could show different kinds of foreign currencies that people don't know. So you can say, okay, here I have, I had my dollar earlier. Here I have a dollar. Yeah. You see, I actually have one in my drawer. Yeah, okay. How much is this worth?
14 bucks.
Rand.
Oh, well, I don't know. What time is it? Okay. It doesn't matter where I travel in Africa. If I'm taking dollars with me, I can get them changed anyway. Sometimes at good rates, sometimes at bad rates. But everybody will accept the dollar because we've all agreed that this is a set value, right? Even though this goes up and down, we base most of our currencies on the dollar. But if I showed you a Malaysian, Charlotte will know, Malaysian something or other, okay? And you go, how much is this worth? People might say, I don't know. And you go, well, if you were to take this from Malaysia and convert it and spend it in South Africa, it's going to be worth slightly less. But what the value of it isn't what's written on the paper. It's what you could buy in Malaysia from that particular amount of money. So how we think about our personal finances relates a lot to the situation that we're in and the value of that particular money at that time. So if you're planning for for retirement and you'd like a successful financial retirement, you have to look at now what the value of it is then when you need it. And that the value of financial retirement increases as you get to your financial age. Like the anxiety about being able to retire, or realizing that you haven't gathered enough money to retire. So the money itself doesn't really change in value. It's your relationship to the money at the time that you need it. And so as a financial advisor, what you want to try and do is get people to understand the value of the money that they have in their hand now, and how much it could be worth for them if they take this dollar and they put it into that envelope for their retirement fund. And if you're actually taking out different pieces of foreign currency and you say, how much is this worth? Oh, this is 1 Zim dollar. Now, you laugh. I used to have a 1 Zim dollar. Okay. And I used to take a 100 Rand note and turn it into a 1 Zim dollar. And I got a heck of a reaction because 1, it's magic, and 2, it's 1 Zim dollar. Yeah. That joke was not as funny when I had to use a 1 billion Zim dollar. The note looked pretty much the same, but the joke wasn't the same. Because 1 is worth so much less than 1 billion, and yet the 1 billion is worth so much less than the 1 when I got it. So by having a funny little story about the pictures on the money, or it used to say on money that you could go to the Reserve Bank and they would give you that money in gold. That was the gold standard. Now, you would go to it and they will give you that money in money. Okay, how does that work? Okay, so it's not a complete answer, but I'm saying there are things about this. Yeah, what is it about the physical notes, the shape, the size, what's printed on it, funny stories about it, and you use that story to get them to go, okay, so this isn't worth what's written on here. This is worth what I can spend it on when I want to. So if I put this dollar into my cupboard now and do nothing, it still has value. In fact, it probably increases in value the way the dollar is going. Okay.
If it was a rand, it would be the other way around. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, find something about. And the reason I say money for a financial reason is because that's immediately what your brain's going to go to. And if you had a stack, for example, you talk about people don't have a relationship with money. I remember years ago when I got paid in cash for a show, I'd have a stack of 100 Rand notes like this, and I'd be like, oh my word, I'm absolutely rich. Now I get a stack of 100 Rand notes like this, and I'm like going, what, you didn't have 200s? Okay. Why isn't there 500 Rand banknotes? Why? So you could take 10,000 Rand and convert it into 100 Rand notes and stack it with wraps around them and go, do you know what 10,000 Rand looks like? Have you ever felt 10,000 Rand? Now imagine having to carry this around with you. Just the visual of seeing that money piled up. And I promise you one thing. A pile of money, a suitcase full of money, will get everyone's attention immediately. You could even fake it. So you take a suitcase, you do like they do in the movies with the stacks of, $100 bills, but you just put pieces of newspaper underneath, like they do in the movies as well, right? And you just put, like, you have one stack with actual bills, so maybe you spend like 2,000 Rand and you got 200. I'm doing the maths right now. You have a stack of actual bills. That's the one you take out and you flip and you show all the money in it. The rest are all just in the suitcase. But if you start a financial presentation by walking out with the suitcase, click, click, and you open the lid and you go, this is what 100,000 Rand looks like. I promise you, whatever you say next, people want to hear what you're going to say. Yeah, thank you, Granny. Their eyes will be like this.
Marcel, you can also get movie prop money. You can buy movie prop money.
Not as easy as you think. So I actually have one. This is from a movie set. Oh, here's my Malaysian money. This is a movie 100 Rand note. Okay? And the only way you can tell is because it's printed on here for movie prop use only. And it feels slightly different. Okay? These are going to cost you more than what's printed on there. Yeah. It's going to be difficult to find. So the easier way to do that is to buy, get 2,500 Rand notes, put 20 of them a stack, and then have 5 other ones that are on the top of other stacks so that it looks like they're money. You'll probably get away with it cheaper. Also, very handy, if you're at a presentation and you haven't got a credit card that's working, you've at least got several hundred Rand with you. Okay?
Awesome. Great. Cool. Thank you so much, Marcel. Thank you.
Cool. Anyone else want to join in here? I'll take one more.
Granny B's got a question.
Cool.
Yes, I would like to just find out from you. It was really great. Thank you. A lot of great new ideas. Now, if I have a 30-minute presentation, how many different props would I use? Surely you're not going to just go from the one to the other because you've got your opening, your source of your message, and your closing. How would you use it? Once, twice? And where would you suggest? I mean, you started by saying we would come in with it. We'd like to hook them. We'd like to intrigue them. We'd like to make. Would you do it again somewhere else?
I would use it in the beginning because it sets you apart from everyone else. Even if another speaker was on stage with a different prop, your prop will get attention anyway. Okay. Number 2. How many props you're going to use is going to depend on the content that you're talking about and your personal style of presentation. Because I'm marketed on these talks that I'm doing that's content related as a magician, I'm kind of expected to do magic regularly throughout the performance. So that's why I need to have every concept has to have a trick that attaches to it. That's my formula. And also, as you can tell, I don't run out of ideas much for this. Okay. If you do it too much, you make the focus on the prop and the activity that you're doing. So you don't want to overwhelm them with, a complicated exercise that takes a long time. But on the other side of the coin is if every part of the process that you're doing has a solid point that comes with it, then it would then make sense to have a piece that goes with every point. So if you're using, I love the idea of a camera because it's something that people, like an old camera, that you can take apart. So now you've taken the lens apart, you've got the film pulled out, and now you go, I'm going to tell you 5 things about why cameras are like this. And the film represents this, the lens represents that. Now you could do 5 parts of it. If you're not somebody that loves cameras, don't use a camera. If photography is part of what you love to do, people will tell as you carefully take it apart and skillfully, knowledgeably, they can see that you just give you half a moment, you're going to talk about cameras till the cows go home. Okay, but that's not why you're here. If you can take pieces apart and show how they work together for a whole, then each one of those components is a piece that you can use. So, for example, see, bonus magic. Okay. You guys seen this before, huh? You should be familiar with this. Every speaker's bag should have this. Johnson & Johnson dental floss. Okay. So, I tell clients what I do is I take different pieces of a process. So, for example, let me give you a good one. Oh, I was doing customer service talks for car dealerships, and I'd say, okay, so you've got the salesperson on the phone who plays a part in the process. You've got the mechanic who comes and explains to you what's wrong with your car. You've got the dealer principal who comes and greets you at the door and checks that everything's going well. You've got the cleaners who play an important role in keeping the dealership clean and comfortable. You've got the person who makes the coffee, very important person in the process. Okay, so all these people play a different role in the process. Funny thing, by the way, I'm using a mic stand to hold my floss box. Normally I have somebody in the audience hold this up for me, but I figured out a solution today. This works a lot better than this, is what I've learned. Okay. Right. So every person, no matter who they are, plays an important part in the process. But when you look at it from a customer's perspective, they're not necessarily able to identify where somebody's role begins and somebody else's ends. And so what you have to be able to do is put them all to... Oh, it's mint. All right? You have to be able to put them all together so that they form a team that works together. And that means that your customer has a seamless end-to-end experience from beginning to end. All right? Okay. So, different pieces fitting together as a whole is a model to work with.
Okay, the great part about it is you are beautifully toned and steady in pace. I am like somebody that found the fast forward button. When I walk on this page, it and I know I need to learn to try and slow down, but there's just so much energy on the inside of me. It really is difficult to keep it down. So when I do those props, they go and nobody has seen what I've done.
Okay, so remember when we talked about the triune model of the reptile brain, because it gets the information first?
Yeah.
Information that's delivered too quickly is confusing, and so it's disregarded as dangerous or unimportant. When I was a magician performing at about 18, 19 years old, I would also perform like that, really quickly. And one of my colleagues at the time said, you're performing too fast. People don't know when to be surprised. They don't know when to clap, because you haven't given them the opportunity to catch up. And the reason you're doing it fast is because you know what you're doing. You know what you're trying to achieve, and you're almost not, you're performing for yourself, and the audience happens to be there. Anybody who's known me for a long time knows or has seen over the years how I've gradually become slower and slower in presentations, because I'm actually stopping to think about what I want to say in that process. Also, a very good reason not to do ums and ahs. Another speaking thing, an and an ah is your brain trying to catch up with what the mouth trying to catch up with what your brain is thinking. And if you say nothing, it looks like you're thinking. If you say and ah, it distracts it. Okay. So number one is, if you're delivering it too fast, they're not taking it in the message because their brains will reject the information that you're giving them. Number two, by having the props and having a focused process that you need to do with that prop, it'll help your brain pay attention to what you're doing. And so it'll stop you from being able to talk and do things at the same time. Magicians are trained to talk and do things at the same time. But if you're slowly taking something apart and you're going, yeah, I'm doing this, I have to concentrate on that, they'll catch up with the process. Remember, you know where you're going. They don't. So rather be slower and pay and use the props, and almost like, I would say in your case, kind of if you revered the props, you gave them some sort of, endowed them with some sort of special power, and you treat it slower and special, that will slow you down because you won't be able to go like, okay, this, and I've got this prop over here, and look, here's some floss. Okay, you got to, no, this is an important piece of floss. Why, I hear you ask? Well, because, so the prop, oh, and something that I didn't share before, but I'll share now anyway. I don't have to remember what my key points are because I remember the key point as the trick. Like the punchline to the trick is the point I was trying to make. So if I'm trying to put too many punchlines in, I have to put too many tricks in, which means I don't have enough time to do the whole process. So the fact of having some sort of demonstration will give you the time to slow down and focus on that particular thing that you're trying to say. Rather have 3 important things to say in 45 minutes and props and stories all the way around than to try and do 4 or more in one presentation. Damn, this is good. I should have put these in the notes. This would have been great.
Marcel, let's call everyone back.
Yeah. No, come back, there's more, there's more.
Ring a bell.
Yeah.
But I think, Marcel, we are going to wrap this up. Otherwise,
cool.
We can sit here all night. But this has been fantastic. It really has been incredible. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you've got a lot to offer, and we're just really, again, very grateful for all of your generosity and sharing.
It was fun.
It was
great.
very, very much fun.
Now, next one is, how do I charge for the video?
On PayPal. On PayPal.
No, everybody's paying in LinkedIn credits, so I'll take those.
Oh, yeah. But
Marcel, have a quick look at the chat box. There was lots of great feedback for you there.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Wendy and Melanie, I'm going to share a link with you. Something I actually watched on TEDx today about speaking with confidence and about speaking too fast. And it's all about the breath and the diaphragm. And it's just, it's not the what to talk about. It's just that calming nerves and enthusiasm and excitement and just core. So I thought I'd share that. It was actually, I loved it. It was an awesome video, and she's amazing little speaker. She's divine.
Oh, this Make It Rain money gun. Is that the thing where you put the money in and you go?
Yeah.
You do that at the end of your talk about finances. I mean, then you put in, Melanie.
And I think there's one on sale today.
I
think there's a money gun on sale today on one day only, or it was yesterday. I'm not sure. Just check.
Here's a freebie. Yeah. What you do is you take Monopoly money, right? And you put your face on it. Okay? And you put your business card on the back.
And you make it rain.
and now it's your business card. So you put it into the machine and you because it's funny. And if they don't take one, you pick them all up. But I promise you, as a business card, you go and say, here's a $1 million to cash in later, whatever it is, you know?
That's a great idea.
Damn, creative consulting. Can't stop this. Alrighty.
Good night, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you very much.
What's your coaching business called, by the way?
Sorry?
What's your coaching business called?
I haven't given it a name yet. It's so new, so I'm just using Melanie Rothman at the moment.
Okay, cool. Awesome. I had a client that was looking for financial consulting and I wasn't able to help. Bye, guys. Yeah, Melanie. I'm a coach as well. So that's why I was asking. I had a client who specifically was looking for financial guidance and I wasn't able to help.
Great. We'll send them my way.